My first instinct when approached was to say no. But there is an understanding that a High Court judge, even a retired one, has a moral duty to accept. Though clearly you wonder why the government has chosen you. A public inquiry, which would end with my name being associated, like Taylor, Scarman, Levson, Scott, Hutton, Smith, Macpherson, Saville. No, not that one. He was the Bloody Sunday judge. And so many before, with a report. But even as I began, my fear was that these grand inquisitions had become just another stage in the process of catastrophe. The deaths, the assaults, the headlines, the funerals, the memorial garden or statue, and then the public inquiry, which I increasingly fear is designed to be a retreat from responsibility and not a pursuit of it. Well, the Radibi inquiry, I decided, would be different, as I tried to tell my clerk on that first morning.
Milady, as this building is not a formal courtroom, I've improvised chambers and a robing room from what were offices.
That's fine. It's a bad judge who blames her premises.
As you may have twigged from the ghostly signage, this was the HQ of a company that went bust in the last financial crash. The government got it at a knockdown rent, in the current recession. There are multiple empty floors available should you wish to staff up or scope up.
Are those verbs? My aim is for the inquiry to cost as little from the public purse as possible.
I see. In terms of the lease, milady, the Cabinet Office has asked me how long you estimate your inquiry will last. 3 years? 5 years? 10?
I aim to publish interim findings within 3 months.
Did you discuss this when you were appointed?
No, because the reaction would have been the one I sensed from you. In April 1989, 94 died at Hillsborough Football Stadium. Another lost their life 4 days later in hospital, the last 4 years later. The 96. Lord Justice Taylor, fine man, God rest his soul, delivered his interim report by August 4 months later.
Though one should be aware that those were very particular circumstances.
Indeed. Taylor argued that, as his inquiry involved deaths on football terraces, and supporters were back on such concrete steps at the end of that summer, it would be irresponsible if a repeatable jeopardy existed to make others risk it. That's my model.
The aim of a public inquiry, Justice Radibi, is thoroughness. And the most visible measure of that is time and money spent. No one is suggesting you go the full Bloody Sunday and sit for 12 years. But the inquiry into the Iraq War took 7 years. And the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse in UK institutions, well, that's been going on since 2014.
And it's on its 4th chair. A warning to us all.
Milady, you should robe. Public Inquiry XJ41/20, Lady Justice Grace Radibi presiding.
Thank you, Clerk. Please remain standing. I'd like to begin day 1 of this inquiry by asking all of us to take a quiet moment to reflect on the victims, the many, many people who have died in these events. Thank you. Please be seated. These proceedings were established on orders of the Cabinet Office under the Inquiries Act of 2005. Under Clause 17, subsection 2 of that Act, the terms of reference given to me by the government grant me the power to compel witnesses to appear. However, I was refused a request to implement Section 21 of that Act, which requires testimony to be given under oath. Some may not be aware that inquiries are often told what to find out and how to find it out by the organisation being investigated. Does the clerk wish to say something? Or should he perhaps self-isolate and seek a test?
Dust, milady.
For the avoidance of doubt, I stress that the role of a public inquiry is not to attribute blame to individuals. It is to establish precisely what may have gone wrong in a particular situation, and if so, take steps to prevent it happening again. I see the opening phase as frank and relaxed conversations between myself and the witnesses, and it will just be me. The 2005 Act permits me to appoint counsel to question the witnesses. However, on reflection, I have decided that, in the context of the times and these proceedings, it is important that I take full and sole responsibility for both the questions and the answers. Okay, let us begin.
First witness to the stand, please.
Initial interview with witness 1. For the record, she was compelled to appear under clause 17.2 after a long game of ping-pong with her lawyers.
A matter of diaries rather than desire, please believe me.
Request noted. For how long did you hold cabinet-level positions?
8 years or so, which is as long as an American president is allowed, so a decent shift. 3 Secretary of State positions and 2 Minister of State posts outside of Cabinet before that. When the party changed direction, I went back into the private sector and a seat in the Lords. I still serve the party from there.
How many of the government departments you worked at held public inquiries while you were there?
All of them.
Can you tell us, in general terms, why a government might decide to set up a public inquiry?
When an event has occurred that may yield lessons to be learned for a particular sector.
And if there were information that might prevent a repeat of the events, would you agree it should be made available as quickly as possible?
Well, I think firm conclusions are better than fast ones.
And what about slow ones? Might a prolonged inquiry ever be a way of taking an issue out of the news until the public has more or less forgotten what happened?
I think we owe it to the dead and their loved ones to examine each word on every piece of paper that might provide a clue to what occurred. What is a common finding of a public inquiry? That something was done hastily, lazily, with inattention. Therefore, it follows that the investigation of such an event should be diligent, pedantic, and, above all, extended.
In your political career, did you make mistakes?
Well, absolutely. Certainly. Clearly. Mistakes were made.
Made by you?
Now, that's where complexity enters. If I had a criticism of voters and the media, and I'm not saying I do, it would be that sometimes they apply to political life a template from the family kitchen. Only those who have held these roles know how difficult and draining it can be to have responsibility for the lives of tens of millions.
So you are responsible for them?
Within a web of collective responsibility, yes.
I had always understood that to mean that everyone was responsible. Some recent governments seem to interpret the term as no one being responsible.
I think that's harsh.
Of the many public inquiries into political decisions in which you were involved, did any of the reports implicate you personally?
Interestingly enough, no. But then the aim of an inquiry is not to chase down scapegoats.
For which goats must often be grateful. What obligation do individuals or departments in Whitehall have to act on the recommendations made in a report?
As I understand it, none whatsoever.
A 2017 Institute for Government survey, a report into reports, make your own jokes, found that government departments rarely followed up inquiry recommendations, thus increasing the risk of the same mistakes happening again.
Well, following the race murder of Stephen Lawrence in 1993, the Macpherson report into policing made 90 recommendations, of which I believe 87 were adopted.
As a result of which, racism was wiped out in Britain.
The situation is not perfect. But things are better than they were.
The witness claims.
And in passing, I'd say that the 2018 Lessons Learned inquiry into the forced deportation of the Windrush generation of Caribbean immigrants seemed to me a model of its kind.
Even though successive governments have failed to take up the recommendations of a public inquiry into the hostility to immigration policy at the Home Office, which led to the Windrush scandal.
With respect, milady, that's perhaps a little off topic here. Maybe it's something you could pursue in other fora.
Let's get back on topic then. Why is it so difficult for a politician to say now, it was my fault, I take full responsibility, and I'm sorry for it?
You know, I'm not sure that in the end a witch hunt does anyone any good.
But if there really were a witch, then it might be a good thing for them to be found out before they get a spell in another cabinet position. Baroness, are you familiar with a backroom political tactic known as the designated resigner?
I'm not sure I immediately recognise the description.
There is a joke, which began, I believe, at the BBC, that when something terrible happens, deputy heads will roll. In Westminster, I've heard the designated resigner is someone identified at the onset of a crisis, typically someone relatively low in the blame chain, who will take the fall in order to keep politicians in place.
Lady, I note that we have already overshot our allotted slot. I have an imminent board meeting.
Then I will release you to your responsibilities. However, I'm giving the witness notice that she is likely to be recalled.
All rise. The inquiry is adjourned until 2 p.m.
Initial interview with witness 2. For the record, he was compelled to appear under clause 17.2 after a lengthy quasi-theological debate over whether he met the salmon principle of someone directly involved in the matters under review. Well, thank you for coming, however reluctantly.
Not guilty.
A joke, I assume. You will be aware that these proceedings are not designated to attribute guilt or criminal responsibility.
I should be. I wrote the terms of reference for your inquiry myself.
Sadly, not a joke. Can you give us a sense of your responsibilities in government?
Call a spade a spade.
Excuse me?
I'm a special advisor to Her Majesty's government. I was using the ABRO. It's short for abbreviation. You don't have to be spad to work in number 10, but it helps. I've also been called a wonk. At least I think so. I may have misheard.
And what are your responsibilities?
I'm sorry, that's not a word I recognise. Joke. I work in the strategy unit. I'm not the big dog. We all know who he is. But there are many with smaller balls than me. We give advice to the Deputy Prime Minister.
I was not aware that such a post existed in the current cabinet.
Sorry, office joke. It's what we call the one you call the Prime Minister.
There's an old saying in Westminster, advisers advise, ministers decide.
Yeah, I think a dead civil servant who sits in the corner of our office said that once.
Do you think the expression still applies?
The words are cool. We've just put them on shuffle. Version 2.0. Ministers do what advisers decide.
So, if something goes wrong...
Hypotheticals are places you'd like to go on holiday. Text me when you've landed on the tarmac.
So, when something goes wrong, has gone wrong, repeatedly, is it the advisers who the public should hold responsible?
Members of Parliament are accountable to the public because the public elected them. As advisers are not elected by the public, we can't be accountable to them.
Would it be fair to say that it has become harder in politics in recent years to find out who is responsible for anything that goes wrong?
Now that is a good question.
Well, thank you, young sir.
For more than a decade. I mean, I was watching Teletubbies when it started, but I've read stuff. There's been a theory among spads and wonks that the way for a government to avoid being blamed for so much stuff is to franchise out accountability. It started in Australia, where a lot of our guys come from. The playbook was to blame the states for everything, to take the heat off the federal government. The UK system is different, so we tweaked it here. Devolution of power was an attempt at deflection of responsibility. The people are sick, or the students are thick in Wales, Scotland, or Northern Ireland. Nothing to do with us, Gov, save the stink bombs for your first ministers. But England doesn't have its own government, which means that number 10 would take the fall for what goes down here. So, pin whatever you can on local councils. Otherwise, devolve to quangos. If a government doesn't really do anything, it can't be accused of having done something wrong. I call it outsourcing sorry, OSS.
And would you say the method has been successful?
That depends on your metric. There are far fewer ministerial resignations than there used to be, but the algorithm isn't always real-world compliant. ScoMo, Scott Morrison, ran for election in Australia on the ticket that the government would butt out of people's lives. Vote for us and we'll leave you alone. If you got a complaint, ring the States. Classic OSS playbook. But then bushfires raged across the country and people said, where the hell is the federal government? ScoMo tried to argue it was on state governors. Even went on holiday to Hawaii at one point. But suddenly voters didn't believe in hands-off politics. I understand we're not to talk about the pandemic?
Yes, I don't want to prejudge any eventual inquiry into that.
Okay, but that's another one where people suddenly didn't want a small state.
Are you familiar with the backroom political tactic known as the designated resigner?
If I told you, I'd have to resign.
And finally, for now, why is it so difficult for a politician to say, it was my fault, I take full responsibility, and am sorry for it?
That's really a question you'd have to ask someone else.
All rise. The inquiry is adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.
As there isn't a mirror in here...
I'll order one immediately, milady. Wall or standing?
No, I'd like this inquiry to be best practice for good value. Just tell me, is everything straight?
The left shoulder's a bit skew-whiff. May I?
Mm-mm.
And the right sleeve. Oh, are you allergic?
To many aspects of our current society and culture. And penicillin. I shouldn't have told you that. The Cabinet Office will know how to bump me off. Why?
That looks like one of those medical wristbands.
Oh, no. It's a motivational thing.
May I see it?
Mm.
WW... I don't have my specs on. Oh, Lord. Not what would Jesus do?
I found that not an unhelpful question in law, but it's WWRBGD.
Britain's got? No, go on.
What would Ruth Bader Ginsburg have done, sadly, now?
Oh, yes. She was in the Supremes.
The second woman to serve on the US Supreme Court, yes. She was Jewish from Brooklyn, and I was Pentecostalist from Brixton. But it was seeing a documentary on her that made me want to go to law school.
That's something I didn't know about you.
Were you much aware of me at all?
Well, it's good to know as much as you can about a judge. I suppose a big difference between you and Justice Bader Ginsburg is that there's a lot of discussion about who might replace her.
Initial interview with witness 3. For the record, she asked to appear as soon as the inquiry was announced, although I would also have invited her. Please do tell me if you need to take a break at any point.
Thank you, but I want to do this.
You and your members have all lost loved ones in a variety of ways, which is not the purpose of these proceedings to re-examine. But can you give us a sense of how the public inquiry system is, in general, viewed by relatives?
I've met, through bereavement groups, conferences, that kind of thing, parents whose kids were murdered. Some of them you'd seen on the news at those police press conferences. Awful stories, and there's no point in getting into which is worse, but most murder cases, there's a trial. Usually someone goes to jail, even if they say they're not guilty, and keep appealing. And I'm not saying what happened to our families is murder, although some relatives in some cases do think that, but I think inquiries are our equivalent of a murder trial. Not that word people use, closure, because I don't think this kind of thing ever closes until your eyes finally do, but an acknowledgement that someone you loved lived and died and might still be here now.
You're saying that some sort of day in court is part of the mourning process?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not great. I'll never have more than good days among the bad days now, but I'd be much worse if I hadn't heard my daughter's names read out in a list of the victims and hadn't given evidence or seen the people who made the decision put not in the dock exactly, but at least on the spot.
You know that in most cases there is also a coroner's inquest, which can be seen as a day in court for those who die in ways that are not immediately a police matter.
Yeah, but a coroner tells you how it happened. They were burned, drowned, crushed. It doesn't tell you why or who by.
You know that public inquiry doesn't establish individual blame either.
Some of us learn that the hard way. I always check now that new members understand. Look, so many people say to you on Twitter, blogs, sometimes to your face, it isn't going to bring them back, you know, as if they're the first person to think of that, as if we don't know it. Well, of course they're never getting their lives back, nor for that matter are we, but we can't just shrug and say stuff happens. This is the last thing we can do for them. Get an answer about why it happened. Try to stop it happening to people other people love.
Those of your members who have been through a completed inquiry, would you say they found the process useful, satisfactory?
That's why I asked to give evidence. I worry that people put too much faith in these hearings. I mean, within days, wasn't it, of the COVID, people were saying there needs to be a big inquiry, and maybe there does, but if it turns out to be like many of the ones we've seen, kicked into the weeds, so nothing comes out until all the guilty people are
allegedly guilty.
Sorry. If we wait until all of them are Lord and Lady someone of somewhere, then there isn't much point. Aren't there still cases to come from Hillsborough after 31 years? But the big fish already got off the hook, will not face prosecution. A waste of lives and then a waste of time is how a lot of the families see it.
Are there any recommendations you would suggest to improve the system of public inquiries?
Speed.
If anyone has a lozenge for the clerk, please pass it to him. The witness may continue.
When my daughters were in intensive care for all those days, there was a doctor who looked after them. She knew where the injuries had happened, obviously, and she said that while we mustn't prejudge blame, the rule in hospitals is that mistakes must be identified and explained immediately in real time so that they can be prevented from happening again, ideally before the next operation or injection. Real time. I've always remembered that because for us, it all seems to happen in false time, slow time.
Next witness, please.
Initial interview with witness 4, who for the record volunteered to appear very early on. Can you give us a sense of your professional scope?
My mum would say journalist. My colleagues, hack. A lot of celebrities and politicians. Another 4-letter word. I've been editor of 3 newspapers. I don't think the old tabloid broadsheet distinction is very useful now that The Sun, The Times and The Guardian are all tabloids of a kind. So let's say I've edited 2 popular titles and an unpopular one. I'm now a consultant to another of the populars.
How would you characterise the relationship between governments and newspapers?
Oh, dogs and lampposts. But both sides think they're the lamppost.
As a journalist and editor, what is your view of public inquiries?
For governments, there are huge advantages in drop-kicking a problem into out of touch. As I think your inquiry has already discussed, the vast majority of recommendations from these things are never implemented. So a public inquiry can be a way of seeming to do something at the beginning without having to do anything in the end. To be fair, though, there is one example of a public inquiry having a huge and lasting impact on an area of public life.
I suspect you're referring to the Leveson inquiry of 2012 into the culture, practices and ethics of the British press.
You win today's Star Prize.
Can you talk about how Leveson changed the press?
No, I can't.
Really?
I can't because journalists aren't really allowed to say anything anymore. Well, that's how it feels.
Can you give me a sense of the sort of stories you can no longer run without, of course, breaking privacy law or breaching injunctions?
Well, that's the point. I know stories about celebrities and members of the establishment, up to and including the judiciary, my lady, that would make your eyes water. A decade ago, those would have been one front-page splash after another. Now, it's more or less illegal to print them. I'd have to satisfy a draconian definition of the story being in the public interest, which really means extreme political hypocrisy. Only if a Prime Minister introduced a law making adultery a criminal offence or restricting the number of children in a family would their own domestic arrangements come into play.
And do you think that's a loss?
I think every other industry that's been investigated got off much more lightly than us. When I started, you'd have snappers in Harley Street round the clock. Big name, limps out of the Bentley, looking thin. Clock the door number, check the medical directory. Cancer specialist. Fears were growing last night for the health of so-and-so. Next, 2 pars from an anonymous top doc predicting how long they're likely to last with what they've got. There were photos of Freddie Mercury on page 1 just before he died. Now, I could tell you some very famous names who won't see Christmas, except I can't tell you. People talk about the right to private life, but what absolutely exists is a right to private death.
And do you think that's a bad thing?
I think it's a thing. And here's another. Someone wakes up after being in a coma for the last 10 years, buys a newspaper from the hospital trolley. They'd think every kid in the country under 16 had caught this awful skin condition that turns your face into a patchwork of little squares. Pixelate the children. This is the newspaper of today. Half the words can't be printed, half the pictures can't be seen.
Because many would say you've behaved for too long like God, judge and jury in one, breaking up marriages that might otherwise have survived, driving people to suicide, protecting the friends of whoever owns the paper, but destroying their enemies.
Okay. But politicians, doctors, police officers, property developers, organisations that harboured paedophiles, they all destroyed lives. Why did we get the only inquiry that actually changed anything? Can I say something else, my lady?
Please do.
When I started, newspapers themselves were a form of public inquiry, or tribunal. Big budget investigation units, search, insight, spent months, years trying to find out what really happened and name the guilty men and women. Harold Evans, R.I.P. Harry, proved in the Sunday Times that the babies deformed and aborted by the morning sickness drug thalidomide were victims not of an act of God, but the work of men. You didn't really need a public inquiry because he'd done it. But now, the dig deep teams are pretty much gone. It's cheaper, easier, and after Leveson, probably legally safer to write about what's happening on Love Island.
Why do you think the Leveson recommendations were implemented in a way that those of other public inquiries were not?
Oh, that's easy. Leveson was about something done to the establishment. All the others were about something done by the establishment.
Thank you for your evidence. When we resume, it's my intention to recall witness 1.
Good morning, my lady.
Welcome back, former Secretary of State. I'd like to begin your secondary testimony in a different way. The clerk of the court will bring you a book.
No need. I always carry a Bible. I promise that the evidence I shall give...
A different book.
Ah. My own preference is for Roger's.
Please open at the marked page and read the highlighted text.
Very funny. I see what you're
I'm not
trying-
joking. Read it.
Verb. Hold responsible. Accuse. Denounce. Indict. Impeach. Incriminate. Impute. Recriminate. point at or the finger at. Noun. Responsibility, liability, rap, slang, accountability, culpability, answerability.
Thank you. You may return, or if you prefer, restore, give back, convey the thesaurus to the clerk. Baroness, former Secretary of State, do you recognise the words or terms you just read?
I understand where you're trying to go with this, but...
Well, let's go there. Did you ever feel that any of those verbs or nouns applied to you during your long political career? Were you ever held responsible for something that went wrong? Were you ever accountable or culpable for a mistake?
No inquiry or investigation ever found me to be so.
That is not the question I asked.
To be accountable to colleagues, voters, justice is not the same as being culpable for any malversation that occurs.
For the record, the witness has just used an antique and very rare word for professional or public misconduct.
Blame is layered, evasive. Failure more often systemic than individual. If a leaf drops, it's too easy to aim a finger at where it joined the branch. The cause may be somewhere in the trunk, the roots, or where a child's climbing foot or slingshotted conker hit the lost frond.
Harry S. Truman, 34th President of the United States, had a sign on his desk that read, "The buck stops here." What does the one in front of you say? It's complicated.
I think I've given all the evidence I wish to without a counsel present. I request legal representation from now on.
Recall interview with witness 2.
Hey, lady, hey!
The clerk of the inquiry is going to hand you a book.
Whoa, 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 whoa. I thought evidence wasn't being given under oath.
You know it isn't. You wrote the remit. It isn't a Bible.
Careful, it's heavy.
Are you familiar with this publication?
Sure. Some of the newer words in it were coined by me and the guys. One of our things on dull afternoons is trying to slip something into the lingo.
Please open the dictionary at the marked page.
Noun. 1. Responsibility for something that is wrong or deserving censure. Culpability. 2. An expression of condemnation, reproof. 3. Be to blame, to be at fault, or culpable.
You have just read a definition of which word?
I think you've made your point.
I'd like to hear you say it.
Blame.
Is it a word with which you were previously familiar?
I really haven't come here to play games.
Because you do enough of that at 10 Downing Street. I checked that you knew what the word means because the conduct of the government has often suggested that you don't. It can seem simple enough from the outside. Something goes wrong, someone is responsible, that person apologises. No?
No. Seriously, this is where it gets interesting. I blogged on this more than once. When bad I probably have to say doo-doo here, happens, the public always wants to blame someone. But perhaps the public should be looking in the mirror.
It's not the politicians' fault. It's the voters.
That caricatures the view. But why assume that someone else is responsible for what happens to you? Maybe it's your fault. Individuals are born with free will and have lives that don't go as they hoped. Things occur that are often unfair, unlucky, inexplicable. But individuals choose to get on a train or a plane.
I sense the way this is heading. Do people choose to live high in a tower block that isn't fireproof? Or to be shot by British soldiers on a protest march? Or to be crammed onto football terraces for which there is no escape in case of danger?
I thought the judiciary was supposed to be neutral. All I'm saying is that maybe there isn't always a cause, a culprit. Imagine life as a series of tossed coins. You win some, you lose some. Another person makes the same calls with different outcomes. An old view of the world is that gods, or a god, were responsible for what happens. Or, if it was really unfortunate, then the devil or an antichrist. Nobody blamed the deity or Satan. It was just how things ran. And the way it played out was the victim's destiny. These days, we believe that if you look deep enough in the detail of any event, you'll find a devil an official, a politician who can be named, blamed, drag them down from the Tower of Power and burn them. But maybe the person we should be looking for is outside the tower, on the ground.
The vision you seem to present is a government that has total control but no responsibility.
I find that interpretation of what I've said irresponsible.
As we move towards the end of this phase of the inquiry, I have invited, and she has accepted, Witness 3, coordinator of the Relatives Groups Group, to make an impact statement.
Thank you, Judge. When you have lost someone or something, there's a human need to know this is what happened and this is why it happened. And, yeah, also sometimes who was responsible. There are times when, yeah, someone was just in the wrong place at the wrong time or got the wrong gene in the womb. And those are the hardest to bear because there are no answers, or there are, but they get you nowhere. There are also, though, occasions when someone in authority is in the wrong job at the wrong time, makes the wrong decision, or does the wrong thing. It isn't no one's fault or everyone's fault. It's down to someone. And if that person is on a low floor of what the previous witness called the Tower of Power, and therefore it isn't fair for them to take responsibility, then the person in the office at the top of the Tower of Power has to take the blame. Stuff happens, yeah, but it doesn't just happen on its own, and we must find a way as a society of saying that what happened to them is down to you, and just as we must live without them, you must live with what you did to them.
Hello?
Lady Radibi,
Who is this?
we met when I gave testimony to your tribunal.
Ah, yes. If this is about offering further evidence, you should contact my clerk.
No, this is newspaper business. Do you recognise the name Isabella Maria Kentish?
Of course, she's my mother.
And Gabriel Joseph Kentish?
He was my uncle, my mother's brother.
And you are aware how they came to Britain in 1948?
Of course, on the HMT Empire Windrush, the first immigrant ship to Britain from the Caribbean. You're asking me things you must know that I know.
After Leveson, we can't be too careful. Interviewees must be clear about what the subject of the story is and be given a full chance to answer. What was the immigration status of your mother and your uncle?
British citizens, they assumed. The Immigration and Asylum Act of 1999 gave people like them lifelong leave to remain. That clause was not transferred to 2014 immigration legislation because the Home Office argued it was settled law. It wasn't, especially after Mrs. May's hostile environment for immigration policy.
Gabriel Joseph Kentish was deported.
Yes, and died soon after he returned home.
And Isabella Maria Kentish?
She received a deportation order, but it was successfully overturned by legal appeal.
What was your involvement in your mother's case?
As a supportive daughter, not as a judge. Look, if you're fishing for conflict of interest, there wasn't any.
Bias is the story, but not there. What was your involvement in the 2018 Windrush Lessons Learned inquiry?
I told my late uncle's story in his tragic absence. I sat with my mother when she gave evidence because of her age and health.
During your inquiry, you expressed disappointment at government's failure to enact the Windrush Report's recommendation of a public inquiry into the Home Office's alleged hostile immigration policy?
I responded to a comment from a witness from the former Secretary of State.
Lady Radibi, this morning, government sources...
Him again.
Government sources expressed concern that the chair of a current public inquiry should turn out to have been so directly involved in a previous inquiry and to have publicly questioned its effectiveness.
They must have known that when they appointed me.
You'd have to ask them that.
This is a tricky one. Does one wear one's robes to make a resignation statement?
What would one advise?
Milady, you remain a Justice Emeritus, just not of this court.
Just tell me this, Clark. Some of the evidence we heard, the smirking escapology of the politicians, the endless pain of the mother who lost both her children. Do you not regret that this inquiry has been brought to an end?
One's understanding is the Cabinet Office takes the view that to chair a public inquiry, while a case involving two close relatives is potentially the subject of another, is a prima facie conflict of interest.
They knew.
The briefing is that you did not make a formal declaration of the connection.
A lady?
Baroness, very clever.
Me? If so, that's a great tribute from such a big legal brain.
Clever if one removes morality and ethics from the equation. I kept asking about the designated resigner. It was me.
As I told her ladyship, that is not a formulation I recognise.
Will you wait a while and find someone else to start this process all over again?
Perhaps we'll set up a royal commission. They burn up the years. There was a royal commission on tribunals of inquiry in 1966 after people felt the Profumo inquiry had gone a bit rogue.
Yes, under Lord Salmon. Hence the Salmon principles.
Or perhaps we don't need to do anything. Maybe the proceedings have already achieved their desired outcome.
You do know that all this, democracy, accountability, justice, you do know that it isn't a game.
Ah, there I would have to agree with you. A game has rules and penalties for breaking them. What we're playing doesn't seem to, does it?
You will wonder, of course, which of the many public inquiries mine was. It was all of them and none of them. My remit from HM government was to evaluate the efficacy and value of the system of public inquiries in identifying cause and bringing healing to the aggrieved. If that sounds weird, it was the second public inquiry into public inquiries after Salmon's 5 decades ago. The more evidence I heard, the greater my conclusion that the answer was negligible. I was of the view that such investigations should not, at least in their present form, remain such an easy recourse. People think that an inquiry is surgery or antibiotics for the body politic, but it's a placebo, a sugar pill. However, following the undignified collapse of my inquiry, which seems to have pleased Downing Street sources, they would likely remain the default response to catastrophe, from which we may conclude that, whoever else such inquiries benefit, they serve the purpose of governments and corporations. This concludes my investigation, except to say that what happened is my fault. I'm sorry for my failure and take full responsibility for it. There. It isn't very hard to say, is it?
My house is lonely. It stands on the southern slope of the Sussex Downs, commanding a great view of the Channel. I, my old housekeeper, and my bees have the estate all to ourselves. It is, therefore, a most singular thing that a problem as abstruse and unusual as any I've faced in my long professional career should have come to me after my retirement and be brought to my very door.
The Lion's Mane by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Dramatized for radio by Bert Coules. with Clive Merrison as Sherlock Holmes and Michael Williams as Dr. John Watson. The Lion's Mane.
At this time, the good Watson had passed almost beyond my ken. An occasional weekend visit was the most that I ever saw of him. Watson, my dear fellow.
How are you, Holmes?
Perfectly delighted to see you, my dear fellow. Perfectly delighted. Wedlock suits you, Watson. You put on 7½ pounds since I saw you last.
7, actually.
Indeed. I should have thought a little more. Just a trifle more, I fancy. But I also infer that you're in danger of losing it again if your wife remains away from home much longer.
Indeed. She returns tomorrow from a visit. But how did you know?
How do I know? I observed it. How do I know that you've moved your dressing table to the other side of your room?
Holmes, if you had lived a few centuries ago, they would certainly have burnt you alive.
Whereas you, my dear doctor, would be as safe as houses in any century you choose. Lucky man.
Tell me how you knew.
Ha! Simplicity itself. Face badly shaved on your right side used to be your left. You couldn't well move your window, must have moved your dressing table.
Yes, by Jove. But how the deuce did you know that my wife was away?
Ha! Where the deuce is your second waistcoat button, and what the deuce is yesterday's carnation doing in today's lapel? Oh, this is elementary, my dear Watson. Child's play of deduction. Yes, this is rather good, isn't it?
You think so?
Well, don't you?
I do practically nothing but ask questions. When I'm in it at all.
Bide your time, Watson. You'll get your moment in the spotlight one of these days. Show me that program.
Here.
Yes, thank you. Sherlock Holmes, a drama in 4 acts.
I thought you'd hate it.
Oh, yeah.
You were always saying how you loathe being in the public gaze.
Yes, when I was working, hardly matters now. You're publishing the stories again, aren't you?
Yes, that's true.
Well, I don't see why someone else shouldn't write a play about me.
Us?
Us. You say he plays me as well?
Oh, yes.
Well, I've always admired versatility. What's he like, this William Gillette person?
Well, he does look like you, I suppose.
Yes, but does he get below the surface?
Oh, he's very good at the detective business and the action scenes. He's rather a good fight.
But the rest?
It is a family entertainment, Holmes.
So this American gentleman isn't parading my less attractive faults for the world to see?
Not all of them, no.
How good. How does it end? With me triumphant, I suppose.
Holmes.
My dear fellow.
I was going to warn you.
Yes, here we are. Holmes throws the photographs down to the desk and turns to face Alice. Now that you see me in my true light, Miss Faulkner, we have nothing left to say but good night and goodbye, which you ought to be very glad to do. Oh, that's excellent. Very good, very good. Even my supposed friendship for you was a pretense, a sham. Alice, I don't believe you. Why not? From the way you speak, from the way you look, you're not the only one who can tell things from small details. Your powers of observation are somewhat remarkable, Miss Faulkner, and your deduction concerning my friendship for you is quite correct. I suppose, indeed I know, that I love you. Well, it's fascinating.
You're not angry?
Should I be?
It's hardly in character, is it?
As you said, it was good family entertainment. The obligatory happy ending.
Oh, well, retirement certainly changed you.
Indeed.
Oh, yes. I don't think I've seen you this relaxed. Not for years.
Relaxed. Yes, that's the very word.
What's funny?
Elementary, my dear Watson. That's rather good, don't you think? Nice turn of phrase.
Makes my character sound like an idiot.
Oh, so you won't be using it in one of your stories?
Certainly not.
Oh.
Besides, I'm not in the habit of stealing material from other writers. I'm perfectly capable of making up memorable phrases of my own, thank you very much.
Of course you are. Thank you for those Strand magazines, by the way.
Oh, you got them good. What did you think of the stories?
My housekeeper loved them.
And you, of course, never gave them a glance.
No time, I'm afraid. No. Do you know, I'm busier now than I ever was before.
Is that a fact?
Oh, yes.
We're not jealous of you at Scotland Yard. No, sir. We are very proud of you.
And if you come down tomorrow, there's not a man from the oldest inspector to the youngest constable who wouldn't be glad to shake you by the hand.
Yes, I thought you'd like that bit. Sorry you were too busy to read it.
Yes, and while we're on the subject...
Go on.
In the empty house,
Yes.
about when I was in Tibet, you say I spent some time with the head lama.
Oh, that's what you told me.
1L.
I beg your pardon?
Should only have 1L. L-A-M-A. 1L. You spelt it with 2.
I did nothing of the sort.
Well, if not you, the typesetter at the Strand.
Oh, dear.
You're familiar with the word.
Enough to know that it's not exactly appropriate. An animal, isn't it?
Sort of mountain goat. Popular for its skin and its milk and given to congregating in small herds. I don't believe they have heads.
Of course they have heads.
Not in the hierarchical sense, they don't.
I spent some time with the head mountain goat. Oh, God.
I wouldn't worry about it too much.
No?
No. I doubt if his supreme radiance will be offended. I don't think the Strand sells many copies in Tibet.
Ah, the air here is wonderful.
Yes, isn't it?
And that view.
You can see the entire bay from this spot.
Glorious.
And the beach. There's a short walk away, plus the long descent down the cliff path, of course.
Does anyone ever go there?
Oh, certainly, yes, I do, for one.
You do? To the beach?
There are places where the water's trapped between tides, natural swimming pools.
I don't think I ever imagined you as a swimmer.
Did I ever show you my trophies?
No, you didn't.
From remiss of me. Of course, it was a long time ago.
Was it?
Well, one doesn't lose the knack. It's a remarkably agreeable pastime.
You know, Holmes, in many ways I envy you.
And in others?
I don't mean to be rude.
My dear chap.
Well, it's not a life I could lead. Not for long. The isolation would get to me.
To each his own.
Oh, yeah. Of course. But, do you ever see anyone?
Yes, from time to time.
Who? People who get lost? You don't seem to be over-endowed with neighbours.
It's quite a large place, about half a mile away, that direction.
You wouldn't know it.
No, I'm well hidden here. A geographical quirk.
So who lives there?
An assortment of people. It's a school.
School? Right out here in the middle of nowhere?
Quite a famous school, actually. The Gables.
Oh, never heard of it, I'm afraid. How big is it?
Fairly select. A score of pupils, only a few masters, run by one Howard Stackhurst.
Never heard of him either.
Oh, shame on you, Doctor. He's an excellent all-round scholar.
Oh, you know him well, do you?
We've been friendly ever since I came here.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Drop in on each other sometimes. In the evenings.
I see.
You haven't mentioned my garden.
It's, very nice.
I'm surprised that I've taken it up.
Well, you must admit it's not the first thing that leaps into mind where you're concerned.
Has no knowledge of practical gardening.
Oh, please. Not that damned list again. Must be nearly 20 years ago.
24.
24. Good Lord. Practically a quarter of a century.
Yeah?
And you still know it by heart?
Some of it. I spent a good deal of my time thinking about the past.
Holmes, that can be an unhealthy sort of practice.
Ever the doctor.
Of course.
Well, I'm grateful for your concern, but in this case, it's unfounded. I give at least as much time to other matters.
Such as?
Well, look around you. Nature, the natural world, infinite diversity in infinite combinations. What could be more fascinating? Come on.
Where are we going?
It's time for you to meet my fellow students. Open Channel D.
Channel D. Open.
Excellent. Now, we wait.
Nothing's happening.
Patience, Doctor. Their sense of time isn't the same as ours, or yours at least.
What did you mean, fellow students?
Well, sometimes I'm convinced that they're learning far more about me than I am about them.
Oh, really? I never quite believed it, you know.
Oh, I know.
I mean, bees.
You shouldn't have been surprised. They really are the most fascinating study and the most demanding.
Well, I'm not about to argue with you. What's supposed to be happening?
Well, by opening that particular channel, you double the number of exits from this hive.
Yes?
The question is, how long will it take them to realize the fact? And once they do know, what will happen?
And that's the sort of thing you do all day?
All night, too, sometimes. Martha's quite convinced that I'm mad.
A woman of great perception, your housekeeper.
This kind of work does call for a particular temperament, I suppose. Pass me the cover, will you? Here. Thank you.
Sorry.
Oh, don't be. The conditions aren't ideal anyway. You know, your visit was singularly ill-timed.
It was?
Yeah, she really should have been here 10 days ago.
Oh?
Yeah, it's excitement you're after.
Why, what happened? Some of your bees escaped, did they?
Not exactly. There was a murder. The victim's name was Fitzroy MacPherson. He was the science master at the Gables School. Watson, are you listening?
I can't believe you didn't mention this the minute I arrived.
I wanted you to settle in first.
Settle in? I'm only here for the weekend, for goodness sake. It's back to work on Monday for some of us, you know.
Well, I'm sorry, but you still have all day today. Well, that should be ample.
Ample for what?
Well, for you to solve the mystery, of course.
What on earth are you talking about?
I gave the matter a lot of thought.
Oh, yes?
And it seemed to me that we had three alternatives. One, I could simply tell you what happened.
I presume you rejected that one immediately as being far too straightforward.
Absolutely. Two, I could write it up and present you with a manuscript to read on your journey home.
You could write it up.
Why not?
The way you wrote up the adventure of the blanched soldier?
Perhaps not exactly like that, no.
Watson has some remarkable characteristics of his own. A companion to whom each development comes as a perpetual surprise and to whom the future is always a closed book is indeed an ideal helpmate.
I see I'm not the only one with a good memory.
You just wait until it gets published. The letters will roll in.
Three, I could give you the basic facts, show you the evidence, take you round to the sites, and you could try to solve it.
Are you saying that it hasn't been worked out yet?
No. I've cleared the whole thing up.
So you're proposing that we traipse around together and I make a fool of myself while you look on, is that it?
No, of course not. If you'd rather, we'll forget the whole thing. It's just that... What? Well, I hoped you might rather enjoy it. I thought it might be... fun.
Fun?
Well, I didn't think that my bees would grip you for very long. I didn't want you to be bored.
Oh, my dear chap.
Of course, if you think it might be beyond you...
That is the most transparent bit of persuasion I've heard in a long time.
I'm not surprised. I'm somewhat out of practice.
Well, why not?
You'll do it.
How many days did it take you?
3.
I've only got 1.
True enough.
And why are we wasting time here? Tell me about the victim.
What do you want to know?
Everything. Give me all the facts.
His name was Fitzroy MacPherson. Late 20s, an athlete in his youth, but rheumatic fever left him with a weak heart, and he turned to science. He went swimming every day, whatever the weather. I often joined him.
Always in the same place?
Yes, more or less. Here we are.
Is that the path down the cliff? The one you mentioned?
Yes, Stackhurst and I were about where we are now when we saw MacPherson.
What time was this?
About 7 in the morning. A stroll before breakfast.
What day of the week?
Tuesday.
The weather?
Why do you want to know?
Because it might be relevant, of course. And because it's what you would ask.
Very good, Watson. Still and calm.
The temperature?
Already warm and getting hotter. There'd been a storm the night before, a real gale. But that morning, all nature was newly washed and fresh.
Cut out the poetry, Holmes.
Sorry. The weather was calm and clear. The day promised hot.
Very good. Now, you say you saw the victim. Where was the body lying?
It wasn't.
Holmes!
At that moment, MacPherson was still alive, though only just. Now, stay here. I'm going to go down the path a short way. Don't move.
All right.
Can you see me?
No!
Very good. Now you're me.
Right!
This is what happened.
Good God.
Help me.
Wait! Don't move!
Excellent, Watson. My actions to the inch.
I thought you were supposed to be dead.
Not quite.
How close?
Very close.
Well, then.
Oh, sorry.
That's better. Now, are you in exactly the same position as he was?
Let me see. Face down, left arm outstretched, legs twisted. Yes, I am.
Good, thank you.
But there is one important difference.
Go on.
Macpherson was naked from the waist up and wasn't wearing any shoes or socks.
Right. What happened next?
This.
And then he died.
I'm afraid there was nothing we could have done.
Must have been a horrible experience.
Yes, I can't deny it. I've seen more death than I care to remember, but this was particularly unpleasant.
Such a young man.
And on a morning that made one feel good to be alive.
Those words, I couldn't quite make them out. The lying man?
I tried to reproduce exactly what Stackhurst and I heard. Try again.
The linesman? No, surely not.
No, the only sense I could twist out of the sounds was the lion's mane.
The lion's mane? That's hardly more likely than my versions. What did it mean?
I had no idea. And so?
So, I remember it. And file it away for later. New information may well throw some light on it.
Bravo. Now, excuse me. So, yes, that's better. Now, can I tell you anything more?
Of course you can. Was there any obvious cause of death?
The man had been flogged.
Flogged?
His back was covered with dark red lines. There was long wheels curved right round his body.
My God. Still bleeding?
Oh, yes, the wounds were obviously fresh.
Anything else?
Blood all over his chin.
His chin?
He'd bitten through his lower lip with the pain.
So, he had just enough strength to get up the cliff path. You looked down onto the beach, of course.
Of course.
And?
It was deserted. Macpherson's footprints were perfectly clear. He'd come down the path with a spring in his step and staggered back up as much on his hands and knees as on his feet.
The erratic footprints. They started from here, at the bottom of the path?
Yes.
What about signs on the beach?
Oh, unfortunately, this shingle holds hardly any marks.
So you weren't able to read anything?
A little. A storm tide had left a sizable lagoon, bigger than usual. His intention was to use it for his swim.
But he didn't get that far.
He started to undress by these rocks. His towel and the rest of his clothes were still here, neatly folded, and there were a few bare footprints.
Do we know how long he was here?
According to Stackhurst, it couldn't have been longer than 10 minutes, or 15 at the most. He watched Macpherson leave the school.
Right. Let me make sure I've got this. He came down the cliff path in high spirits, put his towel down just here, took off his shoes, his socks and his shirt, and then he was attacked.
That's how I read it, yes.
And then he struggled back up the path to get help.
What are you looking for?
Hiding places. Somewhere our murderer could have concealed himself. Now, that doesn't make sense. You can't see the cliff top from here, so he couldn't possibly have known that you were so close. He had no reason to hide, did he?
I thought not. If he'd still been on the beach as I came down the path, I'd have seen him at once.
It's like a locked room mystery.
A locked room mystery, without walls, virtually unique.
Amazing that you should just chance to be on the scene.
Well, at the risk of spouting cliches to a writer, life is supposed to be stranger than fiction.
Especially your life, seemingly.
Now, is there anything else I can tell you?
Yes, there is. There was nobody on the beach, but what about the sea? Any boats?
Excellent. 2 fishing boats, but a considerable way out, and no signs of any craft being beached.
Very well. There's obviously no more to be learned here. Back to the top, I think. Did your companion, what was his name?
Stackhurst?
Yeah. Did he wait with the body while you went down to the beach?
Yes, but there was a development I haven't mentioned yet.
Oh, good. I could do with some new material. What happened?
A minute or so after Paul Macpherson died.
Before you went down the path?
Yes, Stackhurst and I were kneeling over him when a shadow fell across us. Ian Murdoch.
For a deserted cliff, it seems to have been positively swarming. Is he from the school too?
Mathematics master. Tall, thin, dark, somewhat aloof. A fierce temper, so I'm told, though usually he managed to contain it.
A friend of the dead man?
Apparently not. There'd been some incident with Macpherson's dog. Murdoch threw it through a plate glass window.
Good God. This is a man in charge of children.
Stackhurst told me he'd have dismissed him on the spot, but he was too valuable as a teacher.
How did he react to the sight of the body?
He seemed to be honestly shocked. Poor fellow. Poor fellow, what can I do? How can I help?
An act, do you think?
A good one if it was.
Which direction did he approach from?
Hard to say, I'm afraid. Our attention wasn't exactly on our surroundings.
So he could have come up the cliff path.
Well, if he did, he was very gingerly. I didn't see any footprints.
Did you suspect him at that particular moment?
He was close at hand. Logically, he was a suspect.
Yes, but how did he strike you? Was he acting suspiciously at all? You know, this is just like that damn stage play.
The similarities elude me.
Questions. All I'm doing is asking an endless string of questions. It's always you who gets the interesting speeches.
I thought you liked it that way.
Amazing, Holmes. That's incredible, Holmes. It all seems so simple now you explain it, Holmes. I'm not sure I want to go down in history as a literary device to make you seem even cleverer than you are.
8.
Not to mention lending credence to your more dubious deductions. 8 what?
What do you mean, dubious?
8 what?
Consecutive sentences without a question mark.
Oh, for goodness sake, I'm talking about fiction. This is real life.
Is it?
Please. If we start discussing your precious Tibetan mysticism, we'll be here all day.
You think that would be long enough?
No, I don't. Now, let's get back to something more concrete before I forget everything you've told me so far. Now, you and Stackhurst were standing over poor Macpherson's body when this dog-hurling mathematics tutor turned up. What then?
I sent Murdoch to inform the police in Fulworth. That's the nearest village. Then I left Stackhurst to guard the body and went to look at the beach. By the time I got back, Murdoch had returned with the official representative of the law, Constable Anderson, a member of that peculiar, slow Sussex breed.
Holmes.
Fond of good sense under a silent exterior.
You certainly have mellowed.
Good sense, which he instantly demonstrated by asking me for advice.
On the other hand, maybe not. What did you tell him?
To let no one touch the body until the doctor had seen it and to stop people trampling all over the scene. And then...
And then what?
Then I went home for breakfast.
Here you are. Oh, thank you. The lunch will be a few minutes. The landlord was slightly taken aback by your request for something with no meat in it.
Was he able to rise to the challenge?
Not with any great creativity. You're getting a cheese and pickle sandwich.
Oh, splendid. You?
I'm afraid I couldn't resist the roast beef. You did say you wouldn't mind.
Not in the least. I've no desire to inflict my idiosyncrasies on others.
Thank you.
The walk wasn't too much for you?
No, not at all.
Good.
What was it? A couple of miles?
Oh, nearer 3. Well, to your success with the case.
Thank you. You can't beat a real country brew.
Yes, I thought you'd appreciate it. But that's not why I brought you here.
Well, I hardly thought it was. So come on. What's the Fulworth connection?
This.
What is it?
Now, have a look.
Torn from a cheap writing pad, but done carefully. No jagged edges or bits missing. Folded once. And look how exact the alignment is. This was done by someone exceptionally neat and meticulous, a clear thinker, probably quite intelligent.
Watson, that is positively scintillating.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, it's also totally irrelevant.
Oh?
You were supposed to simply look at the message.
You're the one who told me that the outside of a letter can be as informative as the inside.
Not, alas, in this case, the message.
Very well. This is your handwriting.
Well, of course it is. The police would hardly have let me keep the original. It was vital evidence.
Well, how was I supposed to know what it was? Right, let's see. I will be there, you may be sure. Maudie.
The original was folded inside a card case in Macpherson's left-hand trouser pocket.
He took it with him on his morning stroll?
He did.
What was the writing like?
Undoubtedly feminine, rather scrawling, done with a well-worn nib and perfectly ordinary ink.
And the paper?
Oh, rather better quality than my cheap writing pad.
It wasn't meant as a criticism. Did you know this, Maudie?
No, but Stackhurst enlightened me. Miss Maud Bellamy lives in Fulworth with her father and her brother. She's the beauty of the neighbourhood, Holmes. Quite a one.
Did Stackhurst know about her connection with Macpherson?
No. The full details only came to light later, when the police went through Macpherson's things at the school. The romance had been conducted in great secrecy.
The soup begins to thicken.
I see what you meant about memorable phrases of your own.
What else do you know about the girl?
Father's something of a man of substance in this village. Owns all the fishing boats and bathing huts. He worked his way up from nothing.
Someone like that can be fiercely protective, and the dead man had arranged an assignation with his daughter. Was he married, Macpherson?
No.
And he had a good job with excellent prospects. Why the secrecy?
That was obviously something that had to be investigated. Stackhurst and I came here to talk to the Bellamys that same afternoon.
And?
Here come the sandwiches. A supreme example of how enthusiasm can triumph over limited technique.
Oh, you think so?
And you?
I don't know that triumph is exactly the word I'd use.
The stress and strain of city life seems to be taking its toll on you, Watson. Whatever happened to the tolerant man I used to live with?
A man only has so much tolerance in his soul, Holmes. You soaked it out of me like a sponge.
Take you me for a sponge, my lord?
Macbeth?
Oh, Hamlet, Act 4, Scene 2, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. I'm surprised you didn't remember that.
Holmes, no one remembers Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Most of the time you can't even tell them apart.
I can't say I've ever had any problems. Oh, we're wasting time.
What do you mean, we? Tell me about your interview with the Bellamys.
Would you care for a toffee apple?
No, I would not care for a toffee apple, thank you.
Mr. Bellamy proved to be a middle-aged man with a flaming red beard and a generous head of hair.
Did he indeed?
Nor contain your enthusiasm, Doctor. I must admit that I had much the same thought.
The lion's mane.
He was also in a very angry mood. I'm of the opinion, sir, and my sons of like mind, that Mr. Macpherson's attentions to Maud were insulting.
Insulting? That's a strange attitude.
The word marriage was never mentioned, and there were letters and meetings and a great deal more of which neither of us could approve.
So much for the secret liaison. I was right then, protective. Unless, of course, young Macpherson really was just using the girl. You knew him pretty well. What did you think?
He was a respectful, old-fashioned sort, rather quiet. An admirable son-in-law, or so I'd have thought.
Did you ask Bellamy just why he objected so strongly?
I was about to, when the lady herself came in.
Well, what was she like?
Women have seldom been an attraction to me, Watson.
Seldom? Are you saying that she was an exception?
Certainly not.
Holmes, you're supposed to be giving me data, remember? Just tell me what she was like.
She would have graced any assembly in the world. A perfect, clear-cut face, delicate colouring, poise and control. No young man could have crossed her path unscathed. Watson.
What?
I've devoted my life to exploring the dark side of humanity. What have I missed?
There's no way to answer that.
No logical way, perhaps, and my brain has always governed my heart.
Not always.
What was it you wrote? All emotions were abhorrent to his cold, precise mind.
Early days. I hardly knew you then.
I've always prided myself on my detachment. A woman would have been a distraction.
I must remember to tell Jean you said so.
I meant my own wife, not yours.
Holmes, are you deliberately trying to stop me solving this mystery?
No, certainly not. It's infernally noisy here. Let's see what other delights Falworth Village has to offer. Oh, that's better.
Cooler, certainly.
Yes. Thickness of the walls. Norman's built to last. It's not too cold for you.
No.
Yeah, good.
What a splendid window.
Yeah. Miss Maud Bellamy was wide-eyed and intense. I know that Fitzroy is dead. Don't be afraid to tell me the details.
Remarkable composure.
Yes, indeed.
Who told her the full story? You or Stackhurst?
Stackhurst.
And I imagine she took it well.
Extremely well. When Stackhurst had finished, she turned to me. It seemed that she knew who I was.
Prize of fame. What did she say?
Mr. Holmes, you have my sympathy and my help. Bring them to justice, whoever they may be.
Them? Why did she say that?
Oh, my question exactly. Sir, Fitzroy Macpherson was a brave and strong man. No single person could have done this to him.
The note in the dead man's pocket?
Yes, I asked her about it.
What did it mean?
I see no reason for any more mystery, Mr. Holmes. We were engaged to be married.
Why did you keep it a secret, Miss Bellamy?
Because Fitzroy stood to be disinherited if he married against his family's wish.
Well, why not tell your father and your brother?
My life is my own. I would have told them if they'd ever shown the slightest sympathy.
I will be there, you may be sure. Where, Miss Bellamy?
There was a place on the beach where we used to meet.
And when?
Just after sunset tonight. Any more questions?
Did she know if Macpherson had any enemies?
None in the world.
And yourself? Is there anyone who would want to harm you?
No one.
Anyone who might be jealous of your fiancée? Have you had any previous admirers?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Several.
Including Mr. Ian Murdoch.
There was a time when I thought so.
Was there indeed? Ah, I can't think of anything else. Have I missed anything that you asked?
Not a thing. Bravo.
Thank you. I'm not sure he's got me anywhere.
There is one thing I haven't told you yet.
To do with Miss Bellamy?
Most definitely. You remember her words at the beginning of the interview?
You mean about bringing them to justice?
Whoever they might be, yes. As she said that, it seemed to me that she looked straight at her father and her brother.
3:45. On to the next place?
There isn't one.
You're staying in Falworth?
That's not what I meant. You're now in possession of practically all the facts.
Practically all? What about the findings of the inquest?
It was adjourned for further evidence.
What will you have done? You examined the beach again?
There was no more success than the first time.
The dead man's room at the school?
Nothing.
Then you would have gone over the whole case and tried the old eliminate the impossible approach.
Be my guest.
Right. The facts first, then. A popular and talented young man sets off as usual for his morning swim. Did he always go alone, by the way?
I asked Stackhurst that very question. No, he didn't. Quite the contrary. A few of the students almost always went with him.
Did they indeed? What happened that morning?
Ian Murdoch set them a maths test before breakfast.
Now, that's downright suspicious.
I thought so. Carry on.
Macpherson gets to the beach, prepares for his swim, but before he can get into the water, he's savagely attacked with some sort of flail or whip.
Look at these. Yes, photographs of the wounds.
Good God. That's inhuman. Why didn't you show me these earlier?
Because I didn't get them myself until this stage of the investigation. I hadn't seen the wounds in this much detail until now.
Right. These lacerations are remarkably thin.
Yes.
As if they were made with very fine wires. Do you have your lens with you?
Yes, here.
Thank you. Now, these wounds aren't even. There are dots of blood spaced all along them. A very fine cat o' nine tails? It's devilish, whatever it was. After all these years, I still find it hard to believe that one human being can do something like that to another.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
That's true, I suppose. Cynical, but true. Suppose Murdoch set his test, then hurried out to the beach. No, Stackhurst would have seen him. Is there another route?
Yes, another path down the cliff nearer the school and then along the beach.
So, he sets his test, rushes out unseen, gets to the lagoon, and attacks Macpherson. Then he hides in one of the grottos in the cliff face until he can slip away.
I thought you decided that he had no reason to hide.
Because the top of the cliff isn't visible from the beach, yes. Perhaps he's just afraid that there might be someone about. Criminals are cowards, superstitious, or... it's not very convincing. What about other possible murderers? The Bellamys, I suppose, father and son. I don't really believe it. A man with money and local influence doesn't need to resort to murder just to get rid of an unwelcome lover. Could you have been mistaken about that, Clarence?
Yes, I could.
Eliminate the impossible.
Time to give you the next developments, I think.
I'm listening.
Macpherson's dog was found dead on the beach at the very place where his master died.
His dog? Did you examine it?
Shortly after it was found. The body was stiff and his eyes were bulging. There was agony in every line of it.
Killed by the murderer, but why, for God's sake?
Some sort of revenge. I didn't know.
You said developments. plural.
I think it's only fair to tell you that I had the first glimmerings of an idea about them.
May I ask what sort of glimmerings, or would that be cheating?
It was something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Have you ever had one of those nightmares where you feel that there's some all-important thing? You search for it, you know it's there, but you don't know exactly what it is, and it's always just out of your reach. That's how I felt.
Yes, I know what you mean. The harder you try, the more elusive it gets.
Yes, precisely.
The best solution is to give up the struggle. Let it surface in its own good time.
Well put.
Eliminate the impossible. What were the other developments?
There was just one. Someone else was attacked, exactly as Macpherson had been. Ian Murdoch.
Murdoch, too? Yes. Yes. What exactly happened?
I was at home. He burst into my sitting room with Stackhurst close behind him. He'd found Murdoch down on the beach.
The same spot?
Almost exactly. Murdoch's shoulder was marked with the same wounds, and he was in agony.
Brandy to deaden the pain, something soothing on the cuts. Did he have any cream, soft butter, something like that?
Salad oil.
Yes, that would have done it a pinch.
It seemed to help. Murdoch was already half in a faint, and the brandy put him right out. We sent word for a doctor, and while we were waiting, Stackhurst told me what had happened. Well, Holmes, I was walking...
Wait! Let me see if I'm right. No, let me ask you this first. What was Murdoch wearing?
A bathing costume covered by his coat.
Yes. And Stackhurst found him at the very edge of the lagoon. He'd been swimming.
Bravo, Doctor.
I've another question.
I rather thought you might have.
What you found, Macpherson? You said he was naked from the waist up.
I did.
Describe his trousers.
Grey wool.
Oh, damn it, Holmes, you know what I mean.
Clumsily fastened, somewhat crumpled.
You might have told me that at the very beginning.
I didn't realize the importance of it myself until considerably later.
And his hair? What about his hair?
I rather think you can answer that yourself.
He was in the habit of anointing it with oil, slicking it down close to his scalp.
Absolutely correct. Do you have the solution?
Not all of it. Not yet. Did you, at that stage?
Yes, but I had a distinct advantage not available to you.
You were in your own home.
I was.
With your own books.
With my own books.
And you've always been quite a collector of books. Every subject under the sun.
I'm an omnivorous reader.
It was something you'd read. The thing you couldn't recall. It was something you'd read in your own library, so you were able to find it again. Or did you just remember it out of the blue?
As you said, it surfaced. Home. Watson, yes? Well done!
Now, which one?
Would you like me to show you?
No. Just give me a moment. Damn. But I'm close. I must be close.
Extremely.
Then, here we are.
Yes, show me.
Out of Doors, by J.G. Wood.
The famous observer.
That's high praise coming from you.
Never read it.
No, but you have, and recently, too. There's a clear fingerprint in the dust along the top, you see?
Seems I must speak to Martha about her standards of cleanliness.
You're changing the subject. Now I know I'm right.
Well, aren't you going to look inside?
Not yet. I rather think that this is that moment in the spotlight you promised me. I want to enjoy it.
You deserve it. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Now, the most important clues were the dead man's trousers and the oil on his hair.
But why, Holmes? I mean, what's...
Together with the unusually high temperature that day, even before breakfast. When you found the body, you were too distracted to realize the significance of the trousers, but you couldn't have missed noticing it if the man was soaking wet.
He wasn't.
And so you concluded that he hadn't got as far as going for his swim. But you were wrong. The early morning sun had dried his body, and the oil prevented his hair from getting wet. The trousers puzzled. But you said it yourself. Macpherson was an old-fashioned, withdrawn, very proper sort of man.
Well, even so.
Perhaps I've had more experience of it than you. It may be hard to accept, but it's true. Even if the body's in terrible agony, there's a part of the brain that concerns itself with the most ordinary, mundane, everyday thoughts, such as not leaving a secluded bathing beach and going into a public place without first making oneself decent.
I was forced to accept it, in the end.
What it all adds up to is this. He wasn't attacked before he took his swim. He was attacked during it. And the same was true of Ian Murdoch, and even the wretched dog. And what's more, it wasn't murder. Am I right?
Absolutely right.
Does this book have an index?
The page you want is 73.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Behold! The lion's mane!
You enjoyed the weekend, I hope?
Enormously. I hope we can do it again sometime.
Yes, I hope so.
Sometime soon, Holmes.
I can't promise you another murder.
You didn't give me one this time.
Don't be pedantic.
Not pedantic. Accurate. Did you?
Did I what?
Enjoy the weekend. Or will you be glad to get back to your peace and quiet?
Stand back.
Right.
Have a good trip.
Thank you.
Oh, here.
What is it?
Something to read on the journey.
Thank you.
Goodbye, Watson.
Goodbye.
Start on page 12.
Right. Goodbye. See you soon. The Adventure of the Lion's Mane by Sherlock Holmes. Page 12. I led the way along the beach, peering eagerly into the waters. I had reached the deepest and stillest part of the lagoon when my eyes caught it. "Cyanea," I cried. "Cyanea. Behold, the lion's mane."
The strange object did indeed look like a tangled mass torn from the mane of a lion. It lay some 3 feet under the water, a curious, waving, vibrating, hairy creature with streaks of silver among its yellow tresses. It pulsated with a slow, heavy dilation and contraction. Cyanea capillata is the miscreant's full name, gentlemen. The gale must have blown him into the shore. As dangerous as the bite of the cobra, and far more painful. The most deadly of all the jellyfish. The constable stared at me in silence. "Well, you've done it," he said at last. "I'd read about you, but I never believed it. It's wonderful." I was forced to shake my head. To accept such praise was to lower one's standards.
Really, Holmes. Couldn't you come up with a better ending than that?
In The Lion's Mane, Sherlock Holmes was played by Clive Merrison and Dr. Watson by Michael Williams. The violinist was Leonard Friedman. The Lion's Mane was dramatized for radio by Bert Coules and directed by Patrick Rayner.
Death Knock by Martin Edwards.
Remind me again why we do this.
It's not rocket science. Get the story, you get the glory.
How's that worked out for you? Bloody freezing. We don't get paid enough for this.
That's the gig, Sam.
We're essential workers.
You think?
And we should be classified as such.
Good luck with that campaign.
Just wish we could get closer.
You got decent shots, though, right?
Yep. 10 coppers, police cordons, etc. It's pretty atmospheric. The mist over the reservoir and everything. How much longer do you reckon they'll be?
I imagine forensics aren't exactly having a ball wading through water at 4 a.m. It's not the easiest crime scene.
Well, unless things start hotting up soon, I'm hitting the hay. Ask and the universe provides.
Carol!
All I need.
What can you tell us?
Nathan, not now.
Give me something. ID, description at least.
You can't be here.
Is this murder being connected to the others?
It's too early to say, but for now they're all being treated as separate incidents, so...
Ah, so you are treating this as a murder investigation, then?
That's off the record.
You go to press at lunchtime.
And that's my problem, Hal? Officer, this cordon needs extending immediately.
Yes, ma'am. Right, you had a move back, please, sir.
Right back. What are you doing up?
Just checking in. Any news?
SIO just arrived. Off the record, it's a murder inquiry. Looks like a random. No ID yet. Some black kid, probably.
Some black kid?
What?
You're all heart, aren't you?
5 teenagers killed, weeks apart. It's not heart these kids need, it's some good old-fashioned bloody... Emma, I'll have to call you back.
Okay, but you need to give this one a quick turnaround.
Don't I always?
Bye.
Oh, shit. That must be the mum. Oh, sick.
Sam, stop. That's enough.
Nathan, what the hell? Get off.
I said enough. I think I know her.
Take a journey with me into my dream and see my nightmare. I can hear footsteps, but when I turn around, nobody's there. Spooky voices penetrate in my ear with the smell of decay. In the cold night air, a fruit of fear so cold.
Emma, heard anything?
Same as before, it's going straight to voicemail.
Well, I can't hold the front page forever.
He must still be at the murder scene.
Oh, well, that was hours ago. We don't even know if it is a murder.
Nathan's never wrong.
Yeah, well, he's also never late. Yet here we are.
What do you want to do?
I'll contact the Press Bureau.
Okay.
Okay, let's get the story verified at least this end.
Yeah.
Confirm the discovery of the body and whether they're launching a murder investigation.
Yeah, right.
And any other details you can get.
I'll prepare copy for the website.
No, but that's all you do. Prepare. We don't want to tip off the opposition.
Well, for all we know, they could be sitting on the story like we are. By not putting it online, we miss the chance of attracting more paying readers with a big story.
Well, no one's saying don't put it online. It's all in the timing. We have to be guided by the principle of exclusives. That's why we're still a paid-for local weekly and not some advertorial news sheet. And right now, we don't even know if this is a story. Speaking of which...
Press Bureau on it.
Morning, Scribe.
Hey, Sam.
Sam, about time. Where have you been?
Working. I've been on back-to-back jobs all morning. It's all in the diary.
All right, so where's Nathan?
I don't know. We left the reservoir hours ago. Like I said, I've been on...
Back-to-back jobs. Yeah, Emma.
Still voicemail.
Since 2 a.m, by the way.
Oh, what do you want, a medal? In the meantime, what can you tell us about Nathan's story? Is it a murder investigation?
Coppers wouldn't confirm.
Oh, bollocks. What about ID?
We weren't saying much on that either. However, we're the only one with pictures.
Fantastic.
Competition hadn't even turned up when we left.
By the time they arrived, the most they'll get are boring scene setters.
And here's the best bit. Next of kin was on site. I managed to get pictures.
Ah, fantastic.
Until Nathan went all weird.
Weird how?
Almost pulled my camera from me. Said he knew her.
If he knows the next of kin...
He might know where they live.
And with any luck, he's doing a death knock.
Give me strength.
We meet again, DCI Jones.
No way you're going in there.
Carol.
Family liaison have barely had a chance to talk to her. We've not even got victim support in place yet.
We go to press in 2 hours.
She's just seen her son's body face down in a reservoir.
Tell her Nathan's here.
You're telling me you know her, personally?
We go back.
If this is some kind of ploy... Nathan! Hello? Janice, I can arrange for family liaison.
It's all right, I know him. I'm making tea.
Oh, thanks.
Hold on. We've not even finalised our media strategy yet.
5 dead teenagers in your borough. People are rightly concerned. I presume your strategy is an appeal for witnesses. What better way than through a grieving mother?
I get to see the story before it's published.
Dream on.
As a gesture of goodwill?
Fine. But don't think that gives you copy approval.
As long as I know where you're coming from, that's all.
And no official confirmation of the murder inquiry until after we've gone to print.
I'll have to square it with the press office.
I still need a quote from you, by the way.
You've got my number.
How'd you like it?
Just black's fine.
Careful, it is hot.
Thanks.
You sure you don't want any sugar or anything?
This is perfect. Thank you.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
So you're, what, a journalist now?
that's right.
That new school worked out for you then? Put you on the right path?
Something like that.
How many times you done this before then?
Excuse me?
Knocked on the door?
A few. I've done it a few times.
I knew something was wrong. Sean has a routine. Unless he's got after-school activities, he's always straight home. If there's ever a problem, he calls. Always good like that, he is. It started getting late. I rang his mobile, but it was switched off, and that's when I called the police. They wouldn't let me touch him. At the mortuary. I couldn't. Not allowed. Said there was still a chance I could contaminate them. He was just a child. Not even starting life yet. Baby. How could they?
Janice, can you think of any reason somebody would want to do this? Any recent arguments, fights, perhaps?
He wasn't into any of that. Things were finally looking up. We got the phone call out of the blue. She couldn't believe it.
Phone call from who?
But he was settled. He'd already made his friends. Taking him out after a year, it wouldn't be easy.
Who called you?
He never got into his first choice school. At the time, they asked if he wanted to go on the waiting list, but I never thought they'd actually call.
What school?
St. John's. Roman Catholic. But like I said, he'd already settled in by then. It wasn't a bad place, his old school. Good teachers and that. Diverse. That's important, you know. Important that he's comfortable in his own skin. So I didn't think anything more about it. Yet when he didn't get in. But then they called a year later offering him a place, and at first I'm like, nah, you're all right, but Nathan, this school. You're driving past houses the size of hotels. Private roads and everything. I mean, people are buying little studio flats just to get in the catchment area. It's that good. So we changed. And they didn't treat him any different. He was popular. He even went on sleepovers. Like in these multi-million-pound houses. He was really happy.
Do you have phone numbers for any of his school friends?
If you want.
I'd like to write a tribute to him, with your permission. That okay?
You want to interview me?
I want to do everything I can to help.
Okay. What do you want to know?
Me and my guys too groovy. And we still get grungy. Dreadlocks, little Uzi.
And she's agreed to pics?
Yep.
Brilliant. I'll give Sam the address. What about one of the victims?
His name's Sean.
Have we got one of him?
Some nice school photos, prize-giving ceremonies, that sort of thing. I'll have to find somewhere and scan them over. By the time I get back, I'll be too late.
Good idea.
Traffic's horrendous. There's an internet cafe a couple roads down. I'll pop down there, assuming it's open.
You okay?
Hold on. Say again?
I said, are you okay? You seem off.
So would you be if you'd been up since 2 this morning. You ready to take this copy?
Yep. I'm all fingers.
Okay. A grief-stricken mother has spoken of her anguish after her son became the latest victim of the borough's fatal knife crime attacks. New paragraph. Police have launched a murder inquiry following the discovery of 14-year-old Sean, Sierra Echo Alpha November Johnson, Juliet Oscar Hotel November Sierra Oscar November, whose body was found in the Jubilee Lane Reservoir in the early hours of Thursday morning.
Nathan, Emma, you got a moment?
Sure.
Close the door. Sit down.
Why do I feel like I'm in school?
You know the mother?
Janice.
You went to school together?
For a bit. Haven't seen her in years.
All right, look, Sam seems to think you overreacted at the murder scene.
Well, Sam's wrong.
She said...
The editor's code of practice states, and I quote, "In cases involving personal grief or shock, inquiries and approaches must be made with sympathy and discretion." I was doing my job.
Fine. Talk to me.
Sean Johnson, 14, found dead. Jubilee Lane Reservoir. It's all in the copy.
Yeah, stabbed to death, yes?
Almost certainly.
OK, did you know him?
No, but he was a good kid.
Don't make this personal.
Who says I'm making it personal?
Look, the son of a close friend.
We're not close.
Found dead in the worst of circumstances. You'd be forgiven for grieving.
I had a job to do, and I did it. Isn't that why you hired me in the first place? Because I'm local? Because I've got the contacts.
No, there's being local and there's going native.
Oh, be black, but not too black, yeah?
No, don't get all Black Lives Matter on me. You've seen the pattern, you know, as well as I do. The first interview almost always treads a depressingly familiar path. The mother or sister say what a lovely, nice, happy boy the victim is.
Sean.
Yes, what a lovely, nice, happy boy Sean is. Then it goes to trial, and it turns out the lovely, happy boy was, in fact, in a gang. Or dealing drugs.
Doesn't fit.
Fighting over a girl, then. Row over nothing.
Having an argument is hardly a criminal offence.
It is when one party is carrying a knife for his own protection. You've seen it time and time again. You, more than anyone.
This is different. Sean's mum takes him out of school because of her concerns over gangs and drugs. Puts him in a new school. Ofsted outstanding. The parents of these kids are CEOs. His prospects never look better. Makes no sense.
Where are you going?
St John's.
What for?
I'm working on the follow-up for the Splash.
You mean the Splash we haven't even printed yet?
Whatever happened to Sean, it started at that school. As a local newspaper, we feel it's our responsibility to pay tribute to Sean by recognising how valued he was in the community.
Well, of course. And yes, he was. Valued. I'm simply devastated. We all are. We just got the call.
From the police?
A family liaison officer spoke to the head. He then fed it down to individual year heads and HODs.
HODs?
Heads of department.
And you were his head of year, is that right?
Yes. He was very popular. Got on with everyone, teachers and pupils alike.
It's not easy for any child to start a new school in the middle of the academic year. Especially a school with a more homogenous intake than he was used to.
Which is precisely why we were delighted to offer him a place. We do our best to reach out to the wider community.
His mother was worried he'd find it hard to fit in.
Well, as I said, he was very much a part of St John's.
So no concerns?
Regarding...
behaviour? Attitude? Settling in?
Nothing out of the ordinary.
What do you mean?
We have a very strict uniform policy at St John's. It reflects the ethos of the school, pride, community, consistency. We sometimes find it hard to adapt to that aspect of things.
The uniform?
He'd sometimes forget to wear his tie or wear the wrong shoes. I suppose things were a little different at his previous school. It's not uncommon with new students, but we don't tolerate any deviation. That's why we get results.
What's the sanction for that? For coming to school in the wrong uniform?
Oh, typically we send students home.
And how often did this happen?
With Sean? Quite a few times. Excuse me, one moment. Hello? OK. I'll be right there. SLT meeting.
I've taken up enough of your time.
You won't write about the uniform thing, will you? I mean, it's not relevant to anything. As a school, our thoughts and prayers are with Sean's mother at this very tragic time. Would that suffice?
Thoughts and prayers. Excellent. Got it. I'll be on my way.
Do the police have any idea why?
I think at this stage they're just keeping an open mind.
Do they think it was drugs?
Why would you say that?
I mean, in these types of cases...
And what type of case is this?
I just naturally assumed. I mean, not that we have a drugs problem in the school.
I never said you did.
Miss Stone?
Oh.
Is it true? About Sean?
Oh, dear.
Is it? Everyone's saying it.
Alice, you'd better sit down. Oh.
Nathan?
Hey.
Hey, mister. You're just in time. Hope you're hungry. I've made a curry. It's not MasterChef.
I'm
but
not
I think
hungry.
you'll find... Oh.
Need a drink.
Great front page. Competition won't know what's hit them. What about the leads you were chasing?
Spent the afternoon with a jittery head of year 10. Didn't really tell me very much. Except...
Except what?
Sean apparently struggled with the school's strict uniform policy.
Hardly sounds relevant.
It's just Janice never mentioned it.
Well, school uniforms are probably the last thing on her mind. So, you were at school together?
Until year 9.
When you got your scholarship?
Yep.
Must have been weird, seeing her after all this time, under these circumstances.
You'd think having reporters actually from the patch they're working on would be an advantage.
It is, absolutely.
could have fooled me.
Look, about
You
that...
question my judgment.
That's not what we were doing.
I don't need you to tell me how to do my job.
Well, I'm your news editor. That is literally my job.
You had no problems with the copy.
The copy was excellent.
Nothing but praise for him, right?
Absolutely.
Already being groomed for university. Russell Group at that. Do you have any idea the number of hurdles he had to overcome to even think that might be a possibility, coming from where he did?
I understand that.
How could someone like you possibly understand that?
All I'm saying is, let's see what the police find out.
I might have known.
It's early days.
The police said it wasn't gang-related. It was random.
That is not what they said. They said they were keeping an open mind.
In other words, no smoke without fire.
Look, this morning, he was just some black kid. Your words, not mine. And now what? You're telling me to check my white privilege?
I don't need this.
Where are you going?
Out.
Out where? Nathan!
Man don't talk that talk, man just walk it out. Know when man get caught, I don't wanna talk it out. Come on back, get man back, please just sort it out. Please don't talk that talk, man walk it out.
Family liaison was here. Not long gone. Nice woman. Caring. Got kids herself.
Any news?
Why? You looking for a fresh angle?
That's not why I'm here.
They're still waiting on the post-mortem. Something about preliminary results.
They're usually pretty quick with the prelim. The final report tends to take a little longer.
Of course. This is all normal for you, isn't it? You speak their language. Prelim, post-mortem. Cause of death. Puncture wounds. Oh, God.
We'll get the people who did this.
You reckon?
The splash will help.
Splash? Oh. Is that what you've come for?
I'm just saying
You're gonna
that...
swan in here after God knows how long and just make everything magically better. Is that it? Got news flash for you, Clark Kent. The world doesn't work that way, not round here anyway. Or don't you remember? Did you ever think of me?
Of course I did.
Really?
I was just so full of my own sense of... destiny. I was gonna change the world.
What happened?
I cornered the market. Or maybe the market cornered me.
Get it if you want.
It can wait.
I'm not bothered.
It's not important. Have you got anyone helping you through this?
What, apart from the family liaison woman?
You shouldn't be on your own.
I'm not. You're here. So, is there a special someone? Oh, I'll take that as a yes then. What's her name?
Emma.
She the one?
She the boss.
Ah, sleeping your way to the top, yeah?
At the top of what? That's the question.
You love her?
On good days.
And how many good days do you have?
Enough.
Not as good at answering the questions as you are asking them, are you?
Maybe we should swap places.
Trust me, you don't want to be in my shoes. You haven't changed. Still got that seriousness about you. You remind me of him. I know why you're here, Nathan.
I told you, I just wanted...
He wasn't yours. Sean. He wasn't your son. You weren't like the other boys. You were delicate. Oh, I don't mean that in a bad way. You were gentle. And when you looked at me, I felt chosen. That one time we had, you made me feel unbound. And I know it was probably just the summer and hormones and all that teenage stuff, but nothing's ever come close to that. Not since then. But I knew you weren't sticking around. You were going to change the world.
I should have written back. I just got caught up in my own shit.
You were having your big adventure at uni.
I was selfish.
You were young. You both were. I'm glad you're here.
Janice, I'm not sure we should...
I just want to forget Nathan. About everything.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't do this. I'm sorry. It's not that I don't want to. I should go.
Don't, just...
Sorry.
Don't.
God awful.
New mayor promises a new dawn. That's their splat. Surely they've got the murder.
Sidebar, page 3.
You're kidding.
Well, take a look for yourself.
Any decent snaps? Not even a scene setter by the looks of things.
Show me.
You know, there was a time when The Citizen was a half-decent paper.
Obviously before my time.
Now, everybody wants free content, so what do you expect?
Oh, here we go.
Oh, it's undeniable. When I was training many moons ago, we were told we should think of ourselves as a gossip...
A gossip with a notepad.
Notepad, exactly. Then Google and Facebook turn up, and between them they literally destroy the local newspaper market.
Online is an opportunity.
Online's a burden. I love print. Yeah, it's something you can, hold. Something you can keep. Stick photos of kids in the paper. People buy it. Frame it. You can't frame a website address.
People are used to communicating online now. That's the reality. And the virus hasn't helped newspaper sales either.
Granted, yeah. We've lost something like 20% of our local advertising since lockdown.
Yeah.
But advertising sales from the website still only account for a tiny minority of all ad revenue. That's the reality. Thoughts, Nathan?
I'm sorry, what?
The future of the local press.
What about it?
Never mind. I'll be sharpening my quill pen if anyone needs me.
I'm grabbing lunch. Fancy coming?
No, thanks. I might chase some leads.
On Sean?
I want to keep the momentum going.
Dinner later?
Sure.
We can get takeout if you fancy.
Sounds good.
Okay, bye.
Alice?
How do you know my name?
I was waiting outside the school gates.
Well, that's creepy.
I was with your head of year, Miss Stone, a couple of days ago. You were upset.
What do you want?
I need your help.
I don't know you. Stop following me.
Please.
One more step and I'll scream.
It's about Sean.
Who are you?
I'm from the local paper. I want to find out what happened to him, and I think you do too.
You can't put my name in the paper.
I told you. Everything you tell me is completely anonymous.
Promise me?
I give you my word.
It all started with Alec.
Who's Alec?
This idiot in year 11. Part of the self-appointed cool gang. Think they're all that, but they're all knobs.
What have they got to do with Sean?
When he first started, Alec started trying to be clever around him.
Clever? How?
Like, every time Sean was nearby, Alec would use the N-word, like, a lot.
What, he called him?
No, he never called him it. He was never like, you are a whatever. But he'd say it in lyrics, like, he was singing a song, rapping, just Alec being an arse.
How long did this go on for?
Ages. When Sean first started.
Did Sean tell a teacher?
I kept trying to persuade him to, but he just said they wouldn't understand.
How long were you and Sean an item?
He was my friend, that's all.
So you weren't together?
He never saw me that way.
So you did have feelings for him?
Maybe I should have done more.
No one's blaming you.
I should have gone to the teachers myself.
You couldn't have predicted what would have happened.
If I thought he was in danger, then of course I would have said something. But then all of a sudden things changed. He was happier. Suddenly he was in with the cool kids.
How?
Apparently.
Yeah?
And it's only rumours.
Tell me.
He was their dealer.
I'm sorry, what?
That's what I heard.
He dealt drugs? In school?
Not in school. They'd have these parties at Alec's house. His parents would be away for odd nights, business trips or something. These parties. Apparently they got wild. Rich kids are the worst. Just throw money at everything. There's no boundaries. And kids like Alec just always get away with it.
And teachers? They know this.
All they care about are exam results.
You ever seen Sean with drugs?
No. We stopped hanging out after a while. He became cool. You promised you wouldn't use my name, remember?
I won't. But I do need one more thing from you.
What?
Tell me where I can find this Alec. Classic.
Excuse me?
English Bulldog.
Yeah.
Apparently the most expensive pedigree dog breed in the country.
Whatever. Come on, Maisie.
Alec, isn't it?
How'd you...
I was told I could find you here.
What's this about?
I want to talk about you and Sean.
I've got nothing to say.
That's a bit defensive. Makes me think you've got something to hide.
Look, whoever you are...
I'm investigating his murder.
You don't look like a police officer.
I'm a journalist.
Aren't there rules against interviewing minors or something?
Oh, aren't there rules against procuring and consuming prohibited drugs?
Maisie! Maisie, come on, girl.
I know about the parties, Alec. That's right. I know about the wild debauchery at the weekends. The drink, the drugs. I'm sure the murder squad would be very interested to know where you score your gear from.
You're bluffing.
Oh, have it your way.
Okay.
Bye, Maisie.
No, please.
You and Sean, how did you become friends?
He saw a bunch of us smoking in the park this one time. Said he could get us some stuff. That's how it started.
How often? What would he get you?
Most weeks. Weed, mostly. Sometimes a bit of coke. No, it was just a bit of fun.
Fun? A 14-year-old boy is dead.
It's not like I killed him.
You might not have been holding the knife, but you put him in harm's way.
I didn't make him join that gang.
Gang? What gang? Come on, Alec.
We were listening to music, and watching videos on his phone. And, he showed me this.
Stop. Go back. There, stop.
I liked the track, so he sent it to me.
Who else has seen this?
Just me. Hey, give it back.
Shut up. I need a copy. Here. Who are they?
I don't know.
This gang, what are they called?
I don't remember.
Oh, so you did know.
Look, he might have told me once, but I told you it was the
Where
music
would he meet them?
that
Where do they operate? They must have some kind of meeting place.
I told you, I don't know anything.
It never occurred to you to ask.
He mentioned this chicken shop.
Go on.
Near his old school. He'd go there sometimes. Look, I'm sorry about what happened. I am. But we didn't stitch him up or anything. We paid him good money.
And in your world that makes it all right, does it? Because you paid him? Didn't you think about the risk he was taking? Didn't it occur to you he was sabotaging his one chance at a decent life?
Look,
of course it didn't. I've met people like you before. You see, I was Sean once. Thrown into a world I knew nothing about. Formal halls, Latin prayers, school fields stretching as far as the eyes could see. Might as well have sent me to the moon. We bend ourselves completely out of shape just to be accepted by you, just to be part of your cool gang.
No.
I laughed when you tied a rope around my neck as you pretended to hold a lynching. I thought it was hilarious when you called me the N-word on the school rugby pitch and told me to pick up my banana peels. We're complicit. We'll be your drug dealer. We'll be the slave at your mock auction. If it means joining the sacred club, we'll do it. But what a heavy price we pay for your love.
Look, I don't know what you're on about.
All he wanted was to be your friend, Alec. And now he's dead. Live with that.
Are you going to tell the police? Look, I'm sorry for what happened. I'm sorry, okay?
I don't talk to me first.
I just need a few minutes of your time.
We're about to hit the rush hour.
Look, I'm not trying to make your life difficult.
You're trying to ruin me?
Not at all.
First them, now you.
Who's them?
Schools round here. Banning their kids from my cafe. I'm trying to earn a living, you know? It's not my fault. I try my best for these kids, but...
Try your best how?
Look, I've had a lot of kids come in here. Fed up with their street life. Being forced to do stuff they're not supposed to do.
Forced by who?
These guys, innit? They're like the Pied Piper or something. Buying food for these kids like they're feeding the poor. It's all bullshit. We try and give them work, you know, the kids. They're okay for a few months, and all of a sudden they disappear. I see them after a couple of weeks. Black eye, sometimes broken arm even. I ask them what happened. They tell me they started selling drugs. Okay, come back to work. Nah, you don't pay me enough. What can I do? I'm just one man.
Well, what about the police?
These guys are too clever. Always 2 steps ahead, always changing their tactics.
What tactics?
I've said too much already.
What can you tell me about Sean?
They're killing me here, man. Look, Yoli came in a few times. I noticed him because his school uniform was different to the others. And he'd always come in the middle of the school day, like at lunchtime when he should be in school. He didn't look too happy.
He was upset?
Not upset exactly, more withdrawn like, yeah. I saw one of the older boys talking to him.
What did they talk about?
I didn't hear too much, just how your boy Sean wasn't enjoying school that much. The other guy was gassing him up, saying he should stick with his own. He should be back where he belongs.
This older boy?
We had words, I told him not to come back in here. And before you ask, no, I don't know where you can find him, and I don't want to know. These guys don't play, Trust me. No. Unless I can interest you in our delicious menu, this conversation is over. It's done.
Hey.
Hey. It got late. I ordered takeaway.
Late?
Obviously you've already eaten. You stink of fried chicken.
Oh, I thought I had a lead, but it was just a wild goose chase.
Let me be the judge of that.
I'm not your servant, Emma.
Oh. What's wrong? Why are you so edgy?
Why did you become a journalist?
Stop avoiding
I'm not.
it.
Tell me.
Fine. I've always wanted to. It's important.
In an ideal world, maybe.
No, in the real world. Journalism's experiencing a crisis of trust. The phone hacking scandal, fake news. You've seen it. But people trust us. They know us because we're local. The single mum living with her asthmatic daughter in damp council housing, constantly ignored by the local authority. One call from us to the council press office. Mother and daughter miraculously found alternative accommodation. We've changed her life. We did that.
The truth is, nothing changes.
Oh, I don't know.
Look at all the knife amnesties, the poster campaigns, the sermons from church leaders, all the funerals.
All we can do is keep the community informed.
Oh, God. Community. What does that word even mean?
Oh, no.
How many times has the community accused us of either completely ignoring the problem on the one hand or sensationalist reporting on the other?
Well,
they say police are racist, and yet investigations are routinely hindered by a wall of silence that dictates you don't snitch to the feds. Schools accused of hounding out black boys, but the very men who could offer these kids some kind of moral guidance, well, they're too bloody feckless to do the job properly, aren't they?
Whoa, easy there, Katie Hopkins.
Keeping the community informed. You think that's what we do?
Actually, yes, I do.
So naive.
Don't patronise
You talk
me.
like we play some impartial role in all of this.
I didn't
When in
say...
reality, all we do is heighten a climate of fear that makes one misguided teenager stab another one to death.
Yeah, you're overstating the
The very same climate of fear we then splash all over our front page. That's the truth. Anything else is just fantasy land.
You've practically built your career on the back of dead black teenagers.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but it's true. Why's this one got you so worked up? Nathan.
I found out some things.
What about Sean?
But it wasn't his fault, Emma. He was wearing a mask.
What?
He didn't have the confidence to be who he wanted to be, so he played a role, and it killed him. Oh, God. I know all about the mask.
Nathan, I don't understand. What mask? What have you found out?
Okay. That your lot? Hello?
Pretty much.
Any follow-up on the murder? Arrests? Reward?
I'm on it.
It's an important story.
I know.
Yeah, make sure we keep up the momentum, yes?
Nathan, tell him.
Tell me what?
You're going to want to see this.
What is it?
Online. The Citizen, we've been scooped. What?
Hold on. Schoolboy murder victim taunts gang rivals in drill video exclusive.
Oh, what?
You're bloody joking. Why didn't we know about this?
Nathan!
Look, we need to tread carefully.
So you do know about this? Why wasn't I told?
It's not Emma's fault.
You've seen this video? You've got a copy?
Amongst other things, yes. I'm working up some leads. It's part of a wider investigation.
What investigation? I didn't sanction this.
I'm still piecing it all together.
Spit it out.
I've got it on pretty good authority that Sean was dealing drugs to fellow pupils.
What?
Only briefly. Apparently he was being bullied by a group of kids, some of it racial.
And he ends up befriending them by being their dealer.
Something like that. I think it's linked to a County Lines gang that groomed kids from a chicken shop. I spoke to the owner.
Think he's in on it?
He confronted the gang and told them to leave. Bad for business.
And Sean, you think that's maybe why he was killed?
Well, that I don't know. Maybe he was punished because he wanted to get out. Maybe he was the target of a rival gang. I don't know.
OK, we just might be able to salvage this. Keep working your leads. In the meantime, we put the drill video online.
What?
In case it escaped your attention, the opposition has video of the murder victim posing with knives, guns.
Not him personally, just the people around him.
Oh, that's all right, then.
He was lost, just trying to find his way.
They're not on some geography field trip. You knew where this could go.
Emma.
We can't ignore this, Nathan.
Why not wait until I have the full facts?
Because nobody likes being last with the news. Write up something for the website. We're going on the gang affiliation angle. It seems the citizen leads and we follow.
It's Janice.
She must have seen the video.
Go see her. Now.
What you're saying makes no sense. He was a good boy. You wrote it in your article and now you're telling me he turned bad at that school.
I think he was struggling to find his place, maybe.
He loved it there. He was never into drugs. Gang culture, violence, that was not him. But now you're telling me I made it happen.
No.
By putting him in that school, that it's my fault.
Nobody's blaming you.
He didn't want to go. I knew he didn't, but I pushed it.
You did what any good parent would do. Believe me, I know.
When he went for that interview, I told him just go in there and say all the right things. We'll talk about it later. I just wanted him to have the best things in life, just a taste. I wanted him to be comfortable in his own skin without being limited by it. What are you going to write in your paper?
As a journalist, I have a responsibility to
What?
tell...
A responsibility? Where was your responsibility the other night?
It was one kiss.
You kissed me back.
It ended there.
But you wanted more.
It shouldn't have happened. I'm sorry.
Were you just working me to get a story? Was that it? Exploiting a vulnerable, grief-stricken woman?
I came that night as a friend.
And what about now? Are you my friend now? Or you here because you've been beaten by your rivals at the Citizen?
I want to help.
Yeah, I've seen the way you help.
Janice, you've seen the videos. You've listened to the songs.
I don't believe it. That video could have been doctored.
By who? Why?
You lot, journalists.
They're not stealing a packet of Frutella from the corner shop, Janice. This is violence as a way of life.
That's all this ever was to you, wasn't it? A story, a headline. You never really cared. Or maybe for a split second when you thought, oh, we used to laugh at you. Do you know that? We actually laughed. The way you carried yourself, like you were this big shot. The way you talked. The way you walked. I mean, you walked with us, but you didn't walk like us. I was never into you. I just felt sorry for you.
Miss Johnson, the Wembley Chronicle has uncovered evidence to suggest your son Sean was involved in gang-related activity. Would you like to comment?
What?
There are claims he was involved in drug running. How do you respond?
Oh, what are you saying? What is this?
The Chronicle has heard your son dealt drugs to fellow pupils at a prestigious school. How do you feel about that?
Stop it, I said. Get out. Get out of my home. Do you hear me? Get out!
Excellent work.
What have the Citizen got?
Nothing. Looks like they peaked with their video exclusive of last week.
Let's have a look.
By all means. You've redeemed yourself, Nathan.
Right.
The human interest angle is exceptional work. Proper investigative stuff. Almost Dickensian in its sweep of social conditions in the borough. The suburban kids and their bubble of privilege. Nice phrase, by the way. Through to the lost boys, sucked into county lines. A tale of two cities. This is award-winning stuff, it really is.
If you say so.
You should be pleased.
We still haven't found Sean's killer.
I admire your sense of justice, but we're only journalists, Nathan. We've passed on what we found out to the police.
Desk.
Leave it to the murder squad.
What, here? Okay, thanks. Janice, she's in reception.
Shit. Okay, I better go down.
Yeah. Stay here.
It's me she wants to see.
I'll deal with it.
You're responsible for this crap, are you? Drunk dealer, double life, stabbed team. I understand you're upset. I want to speak to Nathan. Why don't you come to my office? I don't want to come into your stinking office. I want to speak to Nathan.
Janice.
There he is, the great reporter. Happy now you've got your story.
Let me explain.
No need. It's all here, in black and white.
I had no choice.
What gives you the right to have the last say on my son? You don't deserve that privilege. You might as well have stabbed him yourself. They might have taken his life, but you have taken his name!
Janice, please!
Look at you! You're nothing but an Uncle Tom.
You said it yourself. You had no choice.
Get off me. Give it a rest.
Nathan.
I think you need to take a walk. Get some air.
Oh, yeah, that'll make everything better, won't it? Some air.
Nathan, calm down.
I don't want to calm down.
You had a job to do and you did it.
Oh, some job?
Go on, go home.
Good idea. Yeah, really good idea. In fact, why don't I go and never come back?
Don't be stupid.
Well, I'm done here.
Nathan, wait.
You're going to just walk out?
Yeah.
Leave.
Nathan, what?
Fine, walk out. But I tell you now, you walk out that door, that's it. There's no coming back.
Well, I don't want to come back.
Nathan,
a second, will
you
you?
can't
Okay,
do
everyone.
this.
Watch me.
Nathan, wait.
What for?
Oi! You lot! Shut it!
What is it?
We've got another one, another stabbing. Young kid looks bad.
When?
In progress. We need to send someone now.
Nathan?
Not interested.
What are you going to do?
Go to the pub. Get pissed.
Some poor kid's bleeding to death and you're going for a pint.
That's about the measure of it, yeah.
Nate, if you want to quit, then fine, quit. If you came here to change the world, then you've come to the wrong place. But right now, there's a young lad out there whose world is falling apart. Your call.
Tell me where I'm going.
Corner of Linton Avenue and Chester Road, near St Leonard's Church. Hit for me.
Nathan, get everything you can from the scene. When you're done there, find the family. Do a death knock. Get them talking.
Don't I always?
In Death Knock by Martin Edwards, Nathan was played by Stefan Adegbola, Emma by Claire Corbett, Brookie by Peter Polycarpou, and Janice by Aisha Antoine. Sam was Charlotte East, Alice, Cecilia Appia, and Alec, Ian Dunnett Jr. The technical producer was Keith Graham, and the director was Emma Harding.